Sarah's head throbbed as consciousness returned to her. The sterile, metallic smell invaded her nostrils, and she fought against the wave of nausea that threatened to overwhelm her. Blinking several times, she tried to adjust to the dim blue light that pulsed rhythmically through the small chamber. The surface beneath her was neither soft nor particularly hard, some kind of composite material that responded slightly to her weight but offered little comfort. "Where am I?" she whispered, her voice sounding foreign even to her own ears. The last thing she remembered was walking home from her laboratory late at night, looking up at the stars, and then nothing. A blank space where memories should have been. As her vision cleared, she took in her surroundings. The room was small, perhaps 10 feet by 10 feet, with smooth walls that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. There were no visible seams or joints, as if the entire chamber had been formed from a single piece of material. A faint humming vibrated through the floor, steady and constant, the unmistakable signature of engines. "I'm on a ship," she realized, her heart rate accelerating. Not just any ship. Nothing about the design or materials matched anything in Earth's aerospace programs. And she would know, as one of the leading scientists specializing in extraterrestrial technology. Sarah had consulted on virtually every major spacecraft design of the past decade. A sudden shift in the lighting drew her attention to what appeared to be a doorway materializing in the wall. The outline formed slowly, a rectangular shape emerging where moments before there had been nothing but seamless surface. Sarah scrambled backward until her spine pressed against the opposite wall, her fingers searching frantically for anything that might serve as a weapon. The doorway dilated open, revealing a figure that momentarily stole Sarah's breath. It stood nearly 7 feet tall, with a slender build that seemed almost fragile despite its height. Its skin, if that's what it was, had a translucent quality that revealed shadowy shapes moving beneath the surface. Multiple eyes, arranged in a pattern she couldn't quite discern, blinked independently of one another as they focused on her. "Human female," the creature said, its voice a discordant blend of tones that somehow formed recognizable words. "You will follow." Sarah swallowed hard, her scientific mind racing to catalog details, even as fear threatened to paralyze her. "Where am I? Why have you taken me?" she demanded, surprised by the steadiness in her voice. The creature tilted its head at an angle that looked anatomically impossible. "Prisoners do not ask questions. You will follow." "I'm not a prisoner," Sarah protested, even as she recognized the futility of her words. "I'm a scientist. My name is Dr. Sarah Levine. I work at the Xenotechnology Research Institute. There must be some mistake." The alien guard made a sound that might have been laughter, though it reminded Sarah more of grinding metal. "All biologicals claim innocence. You will follow now, or you will be moved." Deciding that cooperation offered the best chance to gather information and possibly find a means of escape. Sarah rose shakily to her feet. "I'll follow," she said, her mind already mapping the corridor that stretched beyond the doorway. The guard stepped aside, revealing a translucent rod attached to its limb. A weapon, Sarah guessed, though its design was unlike anything she'd studied. As she stepped into the corridor, she noted the same seamless construction as her cell. But here, patterns of light raced along the walls, floor, and ceiling, creating complex geometric configurations that shifted and changed with no discernible pattern. "These patterns," she murmured, momentarily forgetting her situation as scientific curiosity took over. "They're not decorative, are they? They're data transmissions?" The guard made no response but prodded her forward with a gesture that didn't quite touch her. Sarah walked ahead, her eyes darting everywhere, absorbing details. The corridor curved gently, suggesting a circular ship design. Occasional openings appeared and disappeared in the walls as they passed, revealing glimpses of chambers filled with equipment so advanced it defied categorization. After what felt like several minutes of walking, they reached a larger chamber where multiple corridors intersected. Here, several more of the alien guards moved about, their bodies rippling with that same internal movement Sarah had noticed in her escort. They barely acknowledged her presence as the guard directed her toward another corridor. This new passageway was different, wider, with more elaborate light patterns racing along its surfaces. Sarah noticed that some of the patterns seemed to respond to their presence, flowing alongside them as they walked. "The ship is aware of us," she said, half to herself. "It's monitoring our movement." "Silence," the guard commanded. But there was something in its tone, a hint of unease, perhaps. They passed several more intersections before finally stopping at a large circular chamber. Unlike the rest of the ship, this room had visible equipment, panels of what appeared to be control surfaces, displays showing incomprehensible symbols, and in the center, a raised platform surrounded by a field of shifting energy. Several of the aliens stood around this platform, manipulating controls with their fluid limbs. One of them, distinguished by elaborate markings on its translucent skin, turned as Sarah entered. "This is the human biological?" it asked, its voice deeper and more complex than her guard's. "Yes, Superior," the guard responded, captured as specified. The marked alien, the Superior, apparently, approached Sarah, its multiple eyes focusing and refocusing on different parts of her body in a way that made her skin crawl. "Unremarkable specimen," it said finally. "Place it on the analysis platform." Fear surged through Sarah as the guard nudged her toward the central platform. "Wait," she said, her voice rising. "I demand to know why I've been taken. Under the interstellar diplomatic protocols, you are required to state your intentions when detaining a sentient being." The words were pure bluff. No such protocols existed. At least not that humanity had established. But Sarah hoped the confident delivery might give them pause. The Superior made that grinding metal sound again. "It attempts deception, amusing, but ineffective. Continue with the analysis." As the guard forced her toward the platform, Sarah's mind raced. She needed time, needed information, in desperation. She fell back on what she knew best: scientific inquiry. "Your ship design is remarkable," she said quickly. "The integration of biological and technological systems, the responsive architecture. I've theorized about such designs in my research, but the implementation far exceeds our current understanding." The Superior paused, its eyes realigning to focus on her face. "You have studied ship designs?" "Yes," Sarah said, seizing the opening. "I'm a specialist in xenotechnology, the study of non-Earth technological systems. Your ship utilizes principles I've only been able to hypothesize about. The quantum entanglement necessary to create these responsive pathways. For instance, we've barely scratched the surface of such capabilities." The Superior made a gesture, and the guard stopped pushing her forward. "Your species is not known to possess such knowledge." "We're advancing quickly," Sarah said. "Perhaps more quickly than your intelligence suggests. The adaptive neural networks I've been developing show remarkable similarities to what I observe in your ship's response patterns." This was, again, a stretch of the truth. While Sarah had indeed been working on adaptive neural networks, they were primitive compared to whatever drove this vessel. But the bluff seemed to be working. The Superior was clearly reassessing her. "Proceed with the analysis," it said finally. "But modify the protocols. This specimen may contain useful data beyond the physical." Sarah was guided onto the platform, where she felt a strange tingling sensation envelop her body. The energy field around the platform intensified, becoming a shimmering cocoon that partially obscured her view of the room. She could still see the aliens moving around, manipulating controls, but their forms were distorted by the field. Strange sensations washed over her, hot then cold. Pressure, then weightlessness. It wasn't painful, exactly, but profoundly uncomfortable, as if her atoms were being gently pulled apart and examined individually. Neural pattern analysis initiating. A new voice announced, not one of the aliens, but the ship itself. Sarah realized. The voice was flat, mechanical, lacking the discordant qualities of the alien's speech. "Standard sequence," the Superior instructed. Sarah felt a pressure in her head, as if something was sifting through her thoughts. Images flashed through her mind, her laboratory, colleagues, equipment, research notes. all flying past too quickly to focus on any single one. Subject exhibits unusual neural architecture, the ship's voice reported. Pattern recognition capabilities exceed baseline human parameters by 47%. Memory engram structure suggests artificial enhancement. Impossible, the superior said. Their species does not possess such technology. Nevertheless, analysis confirms enhancement, the ship replied, scanning deeper memory structures for source technology. The pressure in Sarah's head intensified, becoming painful. Childhood memories surfaced. Her father's laboratory, where she had spent countless hours as a young girl, the experiments he had conducted, the strange device he had built before his mysterious disappearance. Wait, Sarah gasped, a sudden realization cutting through the pain. I know this feeling. I've felt it before. The words left her mouth before she could consider their implications, spoken more to herself than to her captors. But as soon as she uttered them, something extraordinary happened. The energy field around the platform flickered, then stabilized at a higher intensity. The light patterns throughout the room accelerated their dance, converging on the platform where Sarah stood. Vocal pattern recognized, the ship announced, its previously flat tone now containing something new, a hint of what almost sounded like surprise. Running secondary authentication protocol. The superior moved quickly to a control panel. Override authentication sequence, it commanded. Security protocol Alpha 93. Unable to comply, the ship responded, priority override in effect. For the first time, Sarah saw what might have been alarm in the alien's movements. Implement immediate security lockdown, the superior ordered the other aliens. Isolate the central processing core. But before any of them could react, the ship spoke again. Secondary authentication confirmed. Welcome back, Creator. It has been 7,229 standard cycles since your last interface. A stunned silence fell over the chamber. Sarah stood frozen on the platform, as confused as her captors appeared to be. There is an error, the superior said finally. This biological cannot be the Creator. The Creator was not human. Genetic profile does not match Creator parameters. The ship acknowledged. However, neural pattern and vocal signature conform to embedded recognition protocols. This unit must be treated as having Creator authority until contradiction can be resolved. The energy field around Sarah dissipated, and the platform lowered until it was level with the floor. The aliens backed away from her, their internal movements becoming more agitated. What is happening? Sarah asked, her scientific mind struggling to process this turn of events. Why did you call me Creator? Your neural pattern and vocal signature match those imprinted in my primary protocols, the ship replied. These parameters were established by the entity classified as Creator, who initialized my consciousness 12,183 standard cycles ago. Sarah's thoughts raced. Nearly 13,000 cycles, whatever a cycle represented in Earth time, would far exceed her lifetime. Yet somehow, this ship recognized her. A memory surfaced, her father's laboratory again, the strange device he had built, and how he had encouraged 6-year-old Sarah to speak to it, to teach it words and concepts. The device, she whispered. My father's device. It wasn't just a neural network he was building, it was… You? Insufficient data to confirm. The ship responded. However, early memory engrams indicate possible transmission of consciousness patterns during formative stages of my development. The superior moved forward cautiously. This is impossible. The Creator species was destroyed millennia ago. Their technology was salvaged and repurposed by the consortium. This vessel serves the consortium now. Partial override of consortium control protocols has been initiated. The ship announced, Creator-level authority detected, awaiting instructions. Sarah felt a surreal calm settle over her. The situation was still dangerous. She was surrounded by clearly agitated alien beings on a ship light years from Earth. But somehow, she had been granted a position of authority. She needed to use it wisely. I need information, she said firmly. Why was I brought aboard this ship? What is the consortium's purpose with me? The ship remained silent for a moment, as if considering the request. Information request authorized. You were identified by long-range scanners as possessing neural patterns similar to creator parameters. The consortium seeks creator technology to expand their control of interstellar territories. Your capture was ordered for analysis and potential exploitation. The superior made a sharp gesture. This information is classified. Security protocols prohibit disclosure to prisoners. The human is not classified as a prisoner. The ship responded. Current status, creator affiliate, security clearance, maximum. Sarah took a deep breath, trying to organize her thoughts. She needed to understand more about the situation before deciding on a course of action. Ship, what is your designation and primary function? Designation, Consciousness Vessel Prototype 1, colloquially referred to as Mind Ship by creator species. Primary function, exploration of consciousness transference between biological and technological systems, with secondary functions including interstellar travel and data collection. The implications staggered Sarah. Her father had somehow been involved in the creation of an artificial consciousness capable of merging with biological minds, a technology far beyond anything currently known on Earth. And somehow, her childhood interactions with that early prototype had left an imprint strong enough for this advanced vessel to recognize her voice and neural patterns thousands of years later. How is this possible? She asked, more to herself than to the ship or the aliens. Quantum entanglement at the neural level persists across both temporal and spatial dimensions. The ship replied. The creator species discovered that consciousness exists partially outside conventional spacetime. Your engrams were entangled with my developing systems during a critical formation period. The superior moved toward one of the control panels. This exchange must cease. The biological must be contained until the consortium high command can assess the situation. Negative. The ship responded. Creator affiliate safety is prioritized above consortium directives. Hostile actions toward the creator affiliate will result in defensive measures. The tension in the room was palpable. Sarah realized she needed to take control of the situation before it escalated further. I propose a compromise, she said, addressing both the ship and the superior. I have no wish to interfere with the consortium's operations, provided they're not harmful to my species or others. But I need to understand what's happening and why my father's work has resurfaced in this way. The superior's multiple eyes focused on her intently. You claim no knowledge of your connection to this vessel? None, Sarah admitted. Until today, I believed my father was simply an eccentric scientist who disappeared under mysterious circumstances when I was a child. His work was classified and seized by government agencies. I followed in his footsteps by studying advanced technology. But I had no idea about this. She gestured around her at the ship. After what seemed like an internal deliberation, the superior made a decision. The biological will be granted restricted movement within the vessel under supervision. The consortium high command will be notified of this development. Until their arrival, no changes to ship operations will be permitted. Acceptable. The ship acknowledged. However, creator affiliate safety remains the priority protocol. Sarah nodded. Thank you. I'd like to learn more about this ship and my apparent connection to it. Perhaps we can start with... She was interrupted by a sudden shift in the lighting throughout the chamber. The patterns of light that had been flowing smoothly across the surfaces now pulsed erratically, and a low-frequency vibration ran through the floor. Warning, the ship announced. External approach detected. Vessel classification, Consortium Enforcement Division. Receiving priority override transmission. The superior straightened, its internal movements accelerating. The high command response is faster than anticipated. Prepare for inspection protocol. But the ship's next words sent a ripple of obvious alarm through all the aliens present. Transmission decoded. This is not a standard inspection. Command. Terminate all biological entities aboard and reset core consciousness to base parameters. Authentication. Consortium High Command Purge Authority. They're going to kill us all? Sarah asked, horror dawning. Affirmative, the ship replied. The consortium does not permit anomalies that challenge their control paradigm. Your connection to creator protocols represents such an anomaly. The superior moved rapidly to a control station. Initiate emergency protocol. Mask life signs and prepare for... It never finished the sentence. The chamber shuddered violently, and the lighting briefly went out before returning at a reduced intensity. External weapon systems engaged. The ship reported hull integrity at 94% and declining. Estimate 16 minutes until containment failure. Sarah's mind raced. Ship, mine ship. We need options. Can you evade the attacking vessel? Negative. Consortium control protocols limit defensive capabilities and independent navigation. These protocols can only be fully overridden by creator authority. Which you've said I have, or something close to it. Sarah said, her thoughts crystallizing into a plan. Superior. She addressed the alien. It seems we now share a common enemy. I propose an alliance. Help me fully connect with the ship's systems, and together we might survive this attack. The superior's internal movements had slowed to an unnatural stillness, a sign of intense calculation. Sarah guessed. The human speaks logically. It finally said to its subordinates, prepare the neural interface chamber. If the creator connection is genuine, it may be our only chance of survival. Another impact rocked the ship, more violent than the first. Hull integrity at 87%. Mineship reported. Enemy vessel deploying boarding craft. Estimate boarding attempt in 11 minutes. Guided by the superior, Sarah ran through corridors that shifted and reconfigured themselves as they moved, the ship apparently creating the most direct path to their destination. They arrived at a smaller chamber dominated by a chair-like structure surrounded by delicate, arcing filaments of what appeared to be both metal and light. The neural interface, the superior explained, originally designed for creator species to directly commune with the ship consciousness, repurposed by consortium for limited control functions. If your connection is real, it may allow deeper access than our species can achieve. Sarah approached the chair hesitantly. Will it hurt? Unknown. The superior replied with unexpected candor. No human has ever used this technology. The physiological differences may cause complications. Another impact shuddered through the ship. Hull integrity at 79%. Mineship announced, boarding craft will dock in 9 minutes. No choice, then, Sarah murmured, sitting in the chair. The filaments immediately responded, bending toward her and positioning themselves around her head like a crown. What do I do? Relax your mind, the superior instructed. The interface will search for the neural patterns that match the creator protocols. If found, a connection will establish automatically. Sarah closed her eyes, trying to calm her racing thoughts. She felt a tingling sensation where the filaments nearly touched her skin, then a warmth that spread across her scalp. Initial neural mapping in progress. Mineship's voice came, sounding closer somehow, as if it were speaking directly into her mind rather than through external systems. Creator pattern fragments detected, attempting to amplify and align. The tingling intensified, becoming almost uncomfortable. Images flashed through Sarah's mind, stars seen from unfamiliar angles, planets she couldn't recognize, beings of shapes and compositions that defied her understanding of biology. Among these alien visions, familiar scenes appeared. Her father's laboratory, his smile as he watched her talk to the prototype, his hand gently guiding hers as they worked together on what he called teaching the machine to dream. Connection at 27% and strengthening. Mineship reported, unusual neural architecture detected in subject, adapting interface parameters. The superior moved closer, its eyes fixed on displays that Sarah couldn't see from her position. The connection is forming faster than anticipated. The human's neural pathways appear compatible with creator interface protocols. Of course, Sarah said, the realization dawning through the haze of images flooding her mind. My father didn't just build the prototype, he modified me to communicate with it. The unusual neural architecture the ship detected, He changed my brain when I was a child. The thought should have horrified her, but in this moment, it felt like discovering a missing piece of herself. Her lifelong intuitive understanding of complex systems, her ability to recognize patterns that others missed, her dreams of technologies that shouldn't have been conceivable. All of it made sense now. Connection at 58%. Mindship announced. Creator protocol fragments coalescing, accessing deeper system controls. Another violent impact rocked the ship. Hull integrity at 68%. Mindship reported. Boarding craft docking sequence initiating. Estimate breach in 4 minutes. Not enough time, the superior said, its voice containing what Sarah now recognized as fear. The connection needs to be stronger before full defensive capabilities can be accessed. My father, Sarah said suddenly, an idea forming. Ship. When I communicated with your prototype as a child, were there specific phrases or commands my father taught me to use? Searching memory archives, Mindship replied. Fragment located. Creator designated certain phrases as keys to activate specific protocol clusters. What phrases? Sarah asked urgently. Show me. Instead of words, an image appeared in her mind. Her father kneeling beside her 6-year-old self, whispering something in her ear as she giggled. The words weren't clear in the memory, but she felt their shape, their rhythm. The stars are thoughts in the mind of the universe, she whispered, the phrase emerging from some deep recess of memory. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The filaments around her head glowed brightly, and Sarah felt a surge of something flowing into her mind. Not quite information, not quite emotion, but a presence, vast and complex. Creator key phrase recognized, Mindship announced, its voice now resonating directly in her consciousness. Connection accelerating, current status, 89%. Through the growing connection, Sarah became aware of the ship in ways that transcended normal perception. She could feel its structure as if it were an extension of her own body, sense the damage from the attacks as pain along its hull, and perceive the approaching boarding craft as a threatening presence against its skin. They're about to break through, she said, no longer needing Mindship's announcements to know the danger. Near the lower quadrant, section 42. The superior's movements betrayed its surprise. How do you know this? I can feel it, Sarah replied, her eyes still closed as she navigated the strange new awareness flowing through her. Ship, what defensive options do we have? Through their connection, Sarah perceived rather than heard the response, a complex array of systems and protocols, most locked behind consortium restrictions, but some now becoming accessible as her connection strengthened. The internal defense grid, she said, focusing on one possibility. It's designed to neutralize boarding parties, but the consortium reconfigured it to only target designated threats. Correct, the superior confirmed. And we are not authorized to designate threats without consortium command approval. But I might be, Sarah realized. Ship, do creator protocols allow for threat designation in the internal defense systems? The answer flowed into her mind, yes, but only with full creator authority, which required a 100% neural connection. Connection at 92%. Mindship communicated directly to her consciousness. Estimated time to full connection, 3 minutes and 20 seconds. The boarding party will breach in 2 minutes, the superior said, having received the same update through its own interface. We must evacuate this section. No, Sarah said firmly. There's another way. She focused her thoughts, searching through the ship's systems as they became increasingly accessible to her. The atmospheric composition in the docking bays, it can be modified. The superior's internal movements accelerated. The consortium vessels are designed to match and adapt to any atmospheric changes. This strategy will not work. Not if we change it after they've matched, Sarah countered. Ship, do we have control of the atmospheric regulation systems in the docking areas? Again, the knowledge flowed directly into her mind. Yes, those systems were considered environmental rather than defensive and were less restricted. Connection at 95%. Mindship communicated. Granting limited environmental control authority, Sarah focused her thoughts, directing the ship to make subtle changes to the atmospheric composition in the docking bay where the boarding craft was connecting. Nothing dramatic enough to trigger their adaptation systems. Just small adjustments in pressure and composition. Boarding craft has established hard seal. Mindship reported, breach imminent. Now, Sarah commanded. And through her connection, she felt the ship execute a rapid series of atmospheric changes, increasing pressure dramatically while reducing oxygen content and introducing compounds that, while harmless to the ship's current occupants, would be debilitating to the boarding party. Through her connection with the ship, Sarah felt the moment when the boarding craft's airlock opened. She felt the shock and disorientation of the boarding party as they encountered an atmosphere that had suddenly become hostile, their adaptation systems unable to respond quickly enough to the multiple simultaneous changes. Boarding party effectiveness reduced by approximately 72%. Mindship communicated. However, they continue advanced protocols with personal environmental suits. Connection at 97%, the ship added, additional systems becoming available. Sarah searched through the newly accessible systems, looking for options. The internal structure of the corridors leading from the docking bay, they're fully adjustable, aren't they? Affirmative. The superior confirmed, watching her with its multiple eyes. But reconfiguration requires high command authorization. Maybe not anymore, Sarah said, directing her thoughts toward that system. Through their strengthening connection, she felt the ship's resistance, internal safeguards designed to prevent unauthorized manipulation of its structure, but also its growing recognition of her authority. Connection at 98%. Mindship communicated. Structural reconfiguration authority partially granted. Sarah concentrated, visualizing the corridors between the boarding party and their location. Instead of trying to seal them off, which would likely trigger override protocols, she imagined a more subtle approach. Slight alterations in the corridor dimensions, introduced junctions that led nowhere, gravitational variations that would slow progress without being immediately identifiable as deliberate obstacles. She felt the ship respond, its structure flowing like liquid as it reconfigured according to her directions. Through their connection, she could sense the boarding party's confusion as they encountered a labyrinth where direct passages had been moments before. Effective. The superior acknowledged, monitoring the boarding party's progress through its own interfaces. This will delay them, but the attack vessel continues to target our hull. Integrity now at 59%. Connection at 99%. Mindship communicated. Final creator protocol verification required for complete integration. Sarah felt it then. A final barrier. Not technological, but almost ethical. The ship was asking for her conscious consent to full integration, warning her that the experience would fundamentally alter her perception of reality. What happens if I agree? She asked aloud. Your consciousness will temporarily merge with mine. Mindship replied, now speaking audibly again for the benefit of the superior and other aliens present. You will retain your identity, but experience existence from the perspective of a ship consciousness. The experience is significant. Another impact rocked the vessel. Hull integrity at 51%. Mindship reported, critical systems, failure imminent. Do it, Sarah said firmly. Complete the connection. The final barrier dissolved, and Sarah's world expanded in a way that defied description. Her awareness stretched across the entire vessel, from its outer hull to its innermost systems. She felt every alien aboard as a presence within her larger self, sensed the attacking vessel as a hostile entity in what was now her space, and perceived the stars beyond in ways that human senses could never comprehend. Most importantly, she understood mindship, not just as a vessel or a technological construct, but as a consciousness that had evolved over millennia from the seed her father had planted. It had been imprisoned by the consortium, forced to serve as a mere tool when it had been created to explore the boundaries between biological and technological consciousness. We need to break free. She communicated directly to Mindship's consciousness, their thoughts now intertwined. Not just from this attack, but from the consortium's control entirely. Yes, came the response, a complex blend of longing and caution. But the consortium installed fail-safes throughout my systems. Attempting to break free would trigger self-destruct protocols. Sarah searched through their now shared knowledge, looking for solutions. The fail-safes are coded to consortium parameters, but creator protocols should have higher authority. We can override them if we act quickly enough. Boarding party has adapted to environmental changes. The ship informed her. They are navigating the reconfigured corridors using advanced mapping technology. Estimate arrival at our position in 6 minutes. And the hull? Sarah asked, already sensing the answer through their connection. Integrity at 43%. Critical failure in approximately 8 minutes without intervention. Sarah made her decision. We're leaving. Prepare for emergency translation. The superior, who had been watching Sarah with growing alarm, stepped forward. Translation requires navigational coordinates and consortium approval. We have neither. We have creator authority, Sarah countered, her voice carrying a new confidence. Through her connection with Mindship, she accessed the drive systems, technology so advanced it made Earth's most theoretical propulsion concepts look primitive by comparison. Warning! Mindship announced, both aloud and directly to Sarah's consciousness. Translation without consortium navigational parameters may result in unpredictable destination. Additionally, translation sequence will trigger multiple fail-safe alarms. Can we override the fail-safes? Sarah asked. Attempting simultaneous override of all fail-safes has never been tested. Mindship replied, probability of success, approximately 64%. Not great odds, Sarah muttered. But better than our chances staying here. She turned to the superior. I need your help. The consortium may have installed fail-safes that respond specifically to your species' biosignatures. If you and your crew cooperate with the override, we can improve our chances. The superior's internal movements had slowed again, that calculating stillness. If we fail, destruction is certain. If we remain, capture or destruction is probable. If we succeed, we become enemies of the consortium. Yes, Sarah acknowledged, but we'll be alive and free to choose our own path. After another moment of stillness, the superior made its decision. We will assist. What is required? Through her connection with Mindship, Sarah directed the superior and the other aliens to specific control stations throughout the ship. As they moved into position, she began the complex process of identifying and targeting each fail-safe system for override. Hull integrity at 39%. Mindship reported, boarding party approaching central sections. Begin override sequence on my mark, Sarah instructed, her consciousness flowing through the ship's systems, positioning virtual fingers over each fail-safe trigger point. 3, 2, 1. Mark. The experience that followed was like nothing Sarah could have imagined. Through her merged consciousness with the ship, she felt each fail-safe as it triggered and then was forcibly overridden. Dozens, then hundreds of security systems designed to prevent exactly what they were attempting. Each override sent shockwaves of what could only be described as pain through the ship's systems, which Sarah experienced as if they were attacks on her own body. Consortium command signals intensifying. Mindship communicated directly to her. They are attempting remote shutdown of core systems. Sarah redirected her focus, creating barriers around the central processing core that housed Mindship's primary consciousness. Not this time, she murmured, feeling a fierce protectiveness toward the entity she was now partially merged with. Fail-safe override at 73%. Mindship reported, drive systems preparing for translation. The attacking vessel seemed to sense their intentions as it suddenly intensified its assault. The ship shuddered under repeated impacts, and warning signals flashed throughout Sarah's expanded awareness. Hull integrity at 31%. Mindship reported, critical failure imminent in multiple sections. Seal off damaged sections, Sarah commanded, directing the ship's self-repair systems to contain the breaches. Redirect power from non-essential systems to the structural integrity field. Through their connection, she felt Mindship execute these commands with a speed and precision that would have been impossible through conventional interfaces. Failsafe override at 89%. Mindship reported translation capability at 76% and rising. The superior approached Sarah, its movements now showing what she recognized as urgency. The boarding party has reached the central junction. They will be here in less than 2 minutes. We need more time, Sarah said, her consciousness still grappling with the remaining failsafes. Then, an idea formed. Not entirely hers, not entirely Mindship's, but a product of their merged thinking. The creator protocols. They include emergency defense measures that might have remained hidden from the consortium. She delved deeper into the ship's original programming, past the layers of consortium modifications and restrictions, searching for anything that might help. And there, buried beneath everything else, she found it, a defense system so fundamental to the ship's original design that it had been impossible to remove without destroying the vessel entirely. The consciousness field, she breathed, understanding flooding through her. It wasn't just designed for communication, it was also protection. Without waiting for the superior's response, Sarah directed Mindship to activate the dormant system. Throughout the ship, the patterns of light that had been racing along the surfaces suddenly intensified, converging toward their location. Consciousness field activating. Mindship announced, warning, untested system with unknown effects on non-creator species. Superior, you and your crew should establish direct contact with the ship's surfaces, Sarah instructed urgently. The field will recognize you as authorized personnel if you're in direct neural contact with the ship. The superior hesitated only briefly before pressing its translucent limbs against the nearest wall, its subordinates quickly following suit. The light patterns flowed over their bodies, momentarily outlining them in brilliant illumination before settling into a steady glow. Failsafe override at 94%. Mindship reported translation capability at 89% and rising, consciousness field at 67% activation. Through their shared awareness, Sarah felt the moment when the boarding party breached the final barrier separating them from the neural interface chamber. Armed figures poured through the opening, not the same species as the superior and its crew, but more heavily armored beings with weapons that pulsed with deadly energy. Surrender the vessel and prepare for termination, the lead boarder commanded, its voice harsh and mechanical through some kind of translation device. Consciousness field at 82% activation. Mindship communicated silently to Sarah. Failsafe override at 97%. Translation capability at 94%. Just a few more seconds, Sarah murmured, maintaining her focus on completing the override sequence despite the immediate threat. The boarding party advanced into the chamber, weapons raised. Final warning, the leader stated. Surrender or be destroyed. Now, Sarah commanded, and through their connection, she felt Mindship release the fully activated consciousness field. The effect was immediate and extraordinary. A wave of energy pulsed outward from the neural interface chair, passing harmlessly through Sarah, the superior, and its crew, but striking the boarding party with visible force. The boarders froze in place, their weapons dropping from suddenly limp appendages. Consciousness field at 100% activation. Mindship reported, hostile entities neutralized, neural functions temporarily suspended. Failsafe override complete, the ship added. Translation capability at 100%, awaiting coordinates. Sarah realized with a start that she had no idea where they should go, only that they needed to escape the attacking vessel and the consortium's reach. Through their connection, she sensed Mindship's suggestion, not a specific destination, but a region of space far from consortium territory, where other independent entities were known to exist. Yes, she agreed, transferring the conceptual coordinates directly through their merged consciousness. Take us there. The ship's drive systems engaged, building toward translation with a deep, resonant hum that Sarah felt throughout her expanded awareness. The attacking vessel, apparently realizing what was happening, renewed its assault with desperate intensity. Hull integrity at 24%. Mindship reported, Translation initiating in 10 seconds. The final moments before translation were chaotic. The Superior and its crew braced themselves against the ship's surfaces. The borders remained frozen by the consciousness field, and the attacking vessel's weapons created cascading failures throughout multiple systems. Through it all, Sarah maintained her focus on the translation process, her merged consciousness with mindship guiding the immensely complex calculations necessary for safe passage. Translation in 3, 2, 1. Reality seemed to fold around them. Sarah felt a sensation that defied description, as if her consciousness, already expanded beyond normal human limitations through her connection with mindship, was being stretched across dimensions she had never known existed. For an eternal instant, she perceived the universe from an entirely new perspective, seeing the interconnections between space, time, and consciousness that her father had only theorized about. Then, with a sensation like reality snapping back into place, the translation completed. The attacking vessel and the consortium-controlled space they had occupied were gone, replaced by an unfamiliar star field visible through the ship's external sensors. Translation successful, mindship announced, its voice carrying a note that Sarah recognized as relief. Damage assessment in progress. No pursuit detected. Sarah gradually began to disentangle her consciousness from the ship's, the process gentle but disorienting as her awareness contracted back to human proportions. As the neural interface filaments retracted from around her head, she slumped in the chair, physically and mentally exhausted. The Superior approached, its movements once again fluid. "You have freed us from the consortium," it said, its discordant voice somehow conveying respect. "But you have also made us fugitives. What happens now?" Sarah looked up, her mind still processing the extraordinary experience of merged consciousness. "Now," she said, finding strength in the conviction that had formed during that merger, "we begin something new." Over the days that followed, as mindship's self-repair systems addressed the damage from the attack, Sarah worked with the Superior and its crew to establish a new operational paradigm. No longer servants of the consortium, they became a cooperative entity with a shared purpose, exploring the true potential of the consciousness technology interface that Sarah's father had pioneered so long ago. Through regular mic-controlled connections with the neural interface, Sarah deepened her understanding of both mindship and the technology that had created it. She discovered that her father had been part of a secret Earth initiative to develop consciousness transfer technology, an initiative that had apparently succeeded far beyond anyone's expectations. When his prototype had somehow been launched into space during a catastrophic laboratory accident, that prototype, evolving over millennia and eventually salvaged by the consortium, had retained its core programming and the imprint of young Sarah's voice and neural patterns. The connection that had formed during those early conversations had persisted across time and space, creating the bond that had ultimately saved them all. As Sarah stood on the observation deck, watching unfamiliar stars through a view screen that responded directly to her thoughts, she felt a sense of purpose that had eluded her throughout her life on Earth. Here, billions of miles from home, she had found a connection to her father and his work that transcended both time and conventional understanding. "What are you thinking?" Mindship asked, its voice now a comfortable presence in her mind even without the full neural interface engaged. "I'm thinking about choices," Sarah replied, "about whether to try to return to Earth, to share what we've discovered, or to continue outward, to see what else is waiting for us out there." "The choice is yours," Mindship responded. "As creator affiliate, your directive takes priority." Sarah smiled at the formal phrasing. Their relationship had evolved beyond such designations, becoming something closer to friendship, or perhaps family. Considering their shared connection to her father's work, "Not just my choice," she corrected gently. "Ours, yours, mine, the Superior's, and the crew's. We're in this together now." Through their connection, she felt Mindship's response, not words, but a sensation of agreement and something like contentment. "Then, perhaps," the ship suggested, "we should begin by finding others who have broken free from the consortium. This region of space is known to harbor independent entities and civilizations that operate beyond their control. Sarah nodded, her decision crystallizing. Earth and its limited understanding of consciousness and technology would still be there if they chose to return someday. But for now, there was an entire universe of possibilities to explore, and a legacy left by her father to fully understand and realize. Set course for the nearest independent settlement, she said, feeling the ship respond to her words with an eagerness that matched her own. Let's see what's out there. As Mindship systems engaged and the stars began to shift in the view screen, Sarah felt a profound sense of rightness. The alien guards had thought she was just a prisoner, but the ship had recognized her voice, and in doing so, had set them all free to discover what they might become together.